What's up, Broncos country? Hold on to your helmets because what went down at NRG Stadium was absolutely devastating. The Denver Broncos didn't just beat the Houston Texans. They dominated, crushed, and showed everyone that this defense is the most feared in the NFL right now. But hold on. There's much more than just a win here. There's twists, there's controversy, there are plays that will go into the season highlights. And I'm going to tell you every detail of this war that happened on the Texas turf. Look, I know you saw the score, but what happened behind the numbers is even more impressive. This game was a true football clinic, and if you want to understand how the Broncos are building something special this season, you need to stay with me until the end of this video. Because Denver Broncos family, what I'm going to reveal here will change your perspective about this team. Before we start, tell me in the comments, did you believe this defense would reach this level? Because I'll be honest with you, what I saw in this game was something from another planet. But let's take it slow, because every second of this game deserves to be broken down. The game started with that typical divisional matchup tension, you know? That energy in the air where you feel every play can decide everything. The Texans were playing at home, with the crowd pushing them, and everyone expected a balanced game. But what the Broncos did was simply unacceptable for any opponent. Right on the first drive, Denver's defense showed their claws. And when I say claws, it's because they literally went after the quarterback like hungry lions. The defensive line was out of control, family. Every snap was a new opportunity for pressure, suffocation, making the Texans' offense beg for mercy. And look, let's talk about the elephant in the room. A lot of people doubted this defense at the beginning of the season. They said it was hype, it was luck, that when they faced real offenses, they'd get beat up. Where are these people now? Because the Texans have a respectable offense with dynamic pieces, and they were simply shut down. The Broncos' first offensive possession also deserves attention. The offensive line was creating absurd holes. Every run gained consistent yards. Every pass protection gave enough time for roots to develop. And that Broncos country is foundation. It's the basics done well that build victories. But then, you ask me, what about the quarterback? How did he do commanding this machine? Look, he was smart. Didn't try to force anything, didn't want to be a hero when he didn't need to. Managed the game like a veteran. That's maturity. It's understanding the moment. It's knowing that when your defense is playing like that, you don't need to risk everything. Now back to the defense, because it's impossible to talk about this game without giving the spotlight to who really dominated. The defensive scheme was perfect. The coverages were locked down. The blitzes came from impossible angles to predict, and the secondary was glued to the receivers like a shadow. There was a moment in the second quarter that sums it all up. The Texans were on third down, desperately needing to keep the drive alive. The quarterback dropped back, looked for options, and simply had nobody open. The pressure came, he was forced to get rid of the ball any way he could, and result: punt. Once again, the Broncos' defense won the battle. And you know what's scariest about all this? The consistency. It wasn't a lucky play. It wasn't an isolated moment. It was drive after drive, down after down, an impenetrable wall. The Texans must have left that field with nightmares about that blue and orange defense. Speaking of turnovers, and look, this is a crucial point, the Broncos' defense wasn't just stopping the opposing offense. They were hunting the ball. Every tackle was an attempt to strip the ball. Every defended pass was almost an interception. This aggressiveness is what separates good defenses from legendary defenses. Now let's talk about the Broncos' running game. Because, Denver Broncos family, when you have an effective running game, you control the clock, you tire out the opposing defense, you impose your rhythm. And that's exactly what happened. The runs were consistent, gaining important yards, maintaining that balanced attack that every offensive coordinator dreams of having. There were runs to the outside, runs up the middle, those draws that caught the Texans' defense completely off guard. And the best part, it didn't depend on just one person. It was a collective effort, with multiple backs contributing, with the offensive line opening paths, with the tight ends blocking to perfection. And when the Texans tried to adjust to stop the run, boom! Then came the passing game. Intermediate routes, perfect crossings, precisely placed balls. The Broncos' offense was reading the opposing defense like an open book. Look, there's a specific play in the third quarter I need to highlight. It was third and long, difficult situation, total pressure. Everyone in the stadium expecting a long, risky pass. And what did the Broncos do? A short route, perfectly executed, with the receiver making a secure catch and gaining yards after the catch. First down. This is smart football, people. But let's not forget that the Texans also had their moments. There was a drive in the second quarter where they managed to move the ball, put together some good plays, and it looked like they were going to score. But then when they got to the red zone, the Broncos defense said, "You're not getting past here." Field goal. Limited the damage, maintained control of the game. And that's defensive maturity, family. Knowing that you won't always prevent the opponent from advancing, but when they get close to the end zone, you slam the door shut. You force the field goal. You make the other team settle for 3 points when they wanted 7. Now, if you're enjoying this in-depth content about the Broncos, if you want to keep following every detail, every analysis, every moment of this incredible season, you need to subscribe to the channel now. Hit that red button, turn on the bell, because here Broncos country has a home. Every game will have complete analysis, no fluff, just quality content for those who bleed blue and orange. Continuing here, let's talk about special teams. Because, people, a game isn't won just on offense and defense. The punt coverage was impeccable. Every time the team had to kick, the coverage came down like missiles, didn't give any room for returns. This is super important because flipping the field, gaining position, that makes a difference in the final score. And the kicker? Calm and collected. When called upon to score, did his job without drama. Field goal? Good. Extra point? Automatic. Seems silly, but how many games have we seen decided by special teams errors? That's why when everything works, when every phase of the game contributes, victory comes naturally. There was also a psychological aspect to this game that can't go unnoticed. The Broncos' body language throughout the entire game was one of absolute confidence, while the Texans started showing frustration in the second half. With silly penalties, with that anxiety of someone losing control, the Broncos remained steady, executing the game plan, maintaining discipline. And discipline, Broncos country, is everything. How many unnecessary penalties did you see from the Broncos? Very few. Meanwhile, the Texans committed mistakes that killed drives, that nullified good plays, that gave away yards as gifts. That's the difference between a well-coached team and a desperate team. Speaking of coaching, the decisions on the sideline were on point. When to go for it on fourth down. When to accept the penalty. When to use the timeouts. Everything was calculated. Everything had purpose. And this comes through to the players who play with more confidence when they know the coaching staff is making the right choices. Now, about the Broncos' passing game, let's be fair here. It wasn't an explosion of air yards, but it was efficient. And in football, efficiency often counts more than volume. Every completed pass had purpose, whether to move the chains, to put the team in position to score, or to consume clock time. The receivers were doing the dirty work too, blocking on runs, fighting for extra yards after the catch, not letting difficult balls turn into interceptions. This collective commitment is what transforms a group of talented players into a true team. And the tight ends? Fundamental, whether in pass protection, as reliable targets, or blocking on runs. They're those versatile pieces that an offensive coordinator loves to have in their arsenal, creating favorable matchups, forcing the opposing defense to make difficult choices. But back to that monstrous defense, because I simply can't stop talking about it. The pass rush was on another level. It wasn't just brute force, it was refined technique, perfect timing, teamwork. The line was collapsing the pocket. The linebackers were finding the right gaps on blitzes, and the Texans' quarterback simply had no peace. And when the ball was thrown, the secondary was waiting. Tight coverages, perfect route breaks, secure tackles when the pass was completed. There weren't any of those big completions that change game momentum. Everything controlled, everything within the plan. There was one statistic that caught my attention: the number of third downs the Texans tried to convert and failed. That's total domination, because third down is where games are decided. If you stop the opposing offense consistently on third down, you're completely controlling the game. And look at the tactical intelligence. When the Texans tried short passes to guarantee the conversion, the linebackers and secondary closed quickly, limiting the yards. When they tried long passes to catch the defense by surprise, the pressure arrived before the route developed or the coverage was perfect. No escape. Now, talking about the second half, because some people think the game is decided in the first half, but that's not quite right. The second half is where you see who has conditioning, who has roster depth, who really wants to win. And the Broncos were superior from start to finish of the second half. The opening of the third quarter was a dominant drive, efficient runs, complete passes, third down conversions, and culminating in points on the scoreboard. That's how you come out of the locker room. That's how you show the halftime didn't cool anything down, that you're ready to keep dominating. And the defense remained relentless. The halftime adjustments didn't help the Texans at all. It was as if the Broncos' defense already knew what was coming before the ball was even snapped. That's study. It's preparation. It's film room being put into practice on the field. There was a moment in the fourth quarter that perfectly exemplifies this team's mentality. They were winning comfortably, could relax, could take the foot off the gas. But no, they kept attacking, kept pressuring, kept playing like the score was tied. That's winning culture. It's not giving the opponent any chance to get back in the game. And you know what that shows the rest of the league? That the Broncos aren't playing around, that when you face this team, you're going to have to play for 60 full minutes because they won't let up at any moment. That commands respect. That makes other teams think twice before underestimating. About the substitutions during the game, it was interesting to see. Backup players coming in and maintaining the same level. This speaks volumes about roster depth, about how everyone is prepared to contribute when called upon. It's not just depending on 11 starters, it's having an entire roster ready to battle. Now let's talk about momentum, because football is very much about momentum. There were several moments where the Texans could have turned the game emotionally, but every time they tried to build something, the Broncos cut it at the root. A sack here, an incomplete pass there, a run for loss of yards, and boom, momentum was back to Denver, and that's killer for the opposing team. When you can't build anything, when every attempt to react is frustrated, doubt starts to enter the players' minds. And when doubt enters, the game is already decided. It's just a matter of time until the clock hits 0. The Texans crowd tried to help, made noise, tried to intimidate. But the Broncos were on another level of concentration, using silent count when necessary, communicating effectively despite the noise, showing that no matter where they play, they'll execute the game plan. And executing the game plan, Denver Broncos family, is what separates good teams from playoff teams. Anyone can have a plan on paper, but executing under pressure in a hostile environment with the game on the line, that's for few. And the Broncos showed they're among those few. Speaking of playoffs, and look, this is an exciting topic. This victory solidifies the Broncos' position even more in the fight for a spot. Every win now is pure gold. It's confidence building. It's a moment that will be remembered when things get tough later in the season, because there will still be tough games ahead. No way around it. The NFL doesn't forgive. Every week is a war. But when you have games like this on your resume, when you can look back and remember how you dominated an opponent from start to finish, that gives you strength to face any challenge. And the veteran players, how they were leading the younger ones. Leadership on the field is visible, it's palpable. You see it through gestures, through conversations on the sideline, through how they react to adversity. And the Broncos have real leaders, people who don't hang their heads, who keep everyone focused. The rookies also deserve credit. They came in confident, didn't seem intimidated by the moment. That's development. It's the coaching staff doing the work of preparing these kids to contribute from early on. Every snap is learning. Every game is growth. Now, we have to talk about roster health, too. They came out relatively unscathed from this physical confrontation, because divisional games are always brutal. They're always those battles where bodies get marked up. Keeping the main players healthy for the final stretch of the season is crucial, and the snap count management was intelligent. didn't overload anyone unnecessarily, rotated the roster when possible, kept everyone fresh. That's thinking long-term. It's not sacrificing the future because of the present. You have to win today, but you also have to be ready to win tomorrow. About the game script, it was practically perfect. Started well, built a lead, maintained control, closed out the game. There wasn't that unnecessary drama. There wasn't a scary comeback. It was technical domination from start to finish. And that's beautiful to see. It's football played the right way, the preparation. During the week, clearly paid off. All the study of the Texans, all the tendencies identified, all the adjustments planned, everything worked on game day. That's professionalism. It's doing your homework and reaping the results on Sunday. And the Texans tried everything. Changed formations, tried no huddle to speed up, tried trick plays, but nothing worked. When you're playing against a team that's more prepared, more disciplined, more determined, there's no magic that will solve it. You have to accept the defeat and learn from it. But let's give credit where it's due. The Texans didn't give up. They kept fighting until the end. Tried to make something happen, maintained composure. That's respectable even in defeat. These are the characteristics that make a team grow and improve for the future. Now, looking ahead, this victory gives incredible momentum for the next games. The locker room must be celebrating. Confidence must be sky high, and this positive energy is contagious. When you're winning, everything gets easier, practices are lighter, preparation is more spirited, but can't relax. The NFL is a what-now league. You might have dominated today, but next week there's another opponent wanting to crash your party. You have to keep your feet on the ground, keep working, keep improving, because there's always room to improve. There's always something to adjust, and the coaching staff knows this. They must already be studying the next opponent, must already be identifying areas to improve, must already be preparing the team for the next challenge. Because in football, you can never think you've arrived. There's always a new peak to reach. The fans in Denver must be so proud. Seeing your team playing with so much grit, with so much determination, with so much quality, is what every fan dreams of. And knowing this isn't a fluke, that it's the result of hard work, dedication, commitment, makes everything even more special. And look, Broncos country, this victory is ours too. It belongs to everyone who woke up early to watch, to everyone who screamed in front of the TV, to everyone who didn't lose faith even in difficult moments. Because the fan base is part of the team, positive energy crosses screens and reaches the field. Now, I want to know from you, what was the moment that stuck with you most in this game? Was it a specific sack? Was it an important run? Was it the defense dominating from start to finish? Comment down below. Let's discuss. Let's celebrate this incredible victory together. And if you agree that this Broncos defense is the scariest in the NFL right now, drop that. Let's show the algorithm that quality content about Broncos country deserves attention. Share it with that friend who's also passionate about the Broncos, because at the end of the day, Denver Broncos family, that's what matters. Celebrating victories together, analyzing the game in depth, understanding what made the difference, and projecting the future with grounded optimism. It's not just screaming and celebrating, it's understanding why we won. It's valuing every aspect that contributed to success. So that's it, everyone. The Broncos massacred the Texans, showed strength in all phases of the game, and continue building something special this season. I'm super excited for the next games, to see how far this team can go, to witness every moment of this journey. Stay tuned to the channel because after each game, there will be complete analysis like this, breaking down every detail, celebrating every victory, and yes, analyzing honestly when things don't go as expected, because being a true fan is being together always, in the good and the difficult. But today is a day to celebrate. It's a day to let that victory warm your heart. It's a day to believe even more in this team's potential. The Broncos are flying, and Broncos country is together on this journey to the playoffs. A hug to all the Denver Broncos family out there. And until the next video with more quality content about our team, drop the like, subscribe, turn on the bell, comment, share, and let's together make this community grow more and more. Broncos country, let's go all in.